All right, today we're going to try to fix this iPad Pro 12.9 inch with a cracked screen. Oh no, I dropped my Pro. So if you take in a repair like this for general repair, when you open it up, you might be in for a surprise. This is back to the old school days of the same surprise in the iPad mini original. When you open it up, you will disconnect the screen. And then when you compare the screen that you took off of the Pro with your new screen, you got no plugs. So in order to do this repair, you're going to have to do some soldering to transfer the attachment assembly from the old screen to the new one. So let's take a look at what that looks like, so that if this happens to you, if you kind of get into a mess with the first one that you've ever seen, your tech opens it up and you realize you're going to have to solder, then hopefully this video will show you what that's going to look like. All right, so this thing, we've done a few of these, not too many. The screens are still like super crazy expensive. So we're gonna disconnect this is the backlight for the screen here. So we'll disconnect these flexes. Christy, how much is do you know how much an iPad Pro screen is right now?
I think it's about $350.
$350? Is that like China price or domestic?
Domestic.
Okay, let's look at this. Under the microscope, I've been sitting here too long. I haven't made a video in a while. We've just been super busy. Touch disease. Apple has finally said, okay, fine, we will fix the design flaw in our iPhone 6 Plus, but not in our 6, and we're going to blame it on users. And we're going to let them pay for it. So that really wasn't the best response out of Apple that people were hoping for, so we continue to see a lot of touch jobs. The thing that just drives me crazy about that is even Apple using the word repair. They don't repair. All they're going to do is just swap your 6 Plus for somebody else's 6 Plus from their replacement stock. When I first heard about the announcement, I immediately called them up and said, are you guys actually fixing these? No, we're just going to swap them out. Now this backlight flex you don't really have to worry about because you're going to be getting a new one with your new screen. So backlight is out. What else do we have to disconnect? We got something going on over here. I'm going to put a little bit of light heat on here to get this off. Oh, there's some cool stuff I've been meaning to talk about in the next video. Somebody sent me a really cool something that they 3D printed, and I combined that with another idea from a YouTube commenter. So it was Mario who told me about, hey, why don't you go down to IKEA and get one of those knife strips for your kitchen, where you would magnetically mount some knives to the back of your kitchen wall. Thought that was cool, and so I picked up some of those, and I've got one mounted right here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Probably not with this thing in the way anyway. It's pretty cool. There it is, kind of back here. But you can attach your screwdrivers to that, and that's really cool. And then this thing I think is so cool. It's a magnetic flux holder that also just kind of clips onto that. So I love that sort of combining two different ideas, and I really like that flux holder. So thanks for making that. I'll have to remember who that was, because she also said she was going to provide some instructions on how to 3D print it yourself. All right, we need a little bit more heat on here to get this off. This is the first time I've had to do this sort of disassembly part. Christy, when you did these Pros, is there any tricks here that I need to know about?
I don't think so.
Just stop being a noob and get it off? Is that the gist of it here?
Pretty much.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's the right tool for this job. trying to be gentle with this flex because I think we might need it.
From
Yeah, the first one of these I did, I didn't know what the backlight thing was. I thought that was like, oh, that's gonna be like, you know, home button or camera or something. Don't worry about it. I just wanted to see if touch worked. And then it booted up with like no image and I was like, uh-oh. I'm liking the iFlex for this job, that's for sure. Is this thing called what is this thing called? Flex tool or?
I think it's called an iFlex.
iFlex, who makes it?
I don't know.
The internet?
Your gadgets, so.
We're just gonna, this is strikingly stuck on here, I'm surprised. It's almost like they didn't want us to fix this. You gotta probably get this whole home button thing out now. Let's look at what that's gonna look like for you guys. I'm just gonna put a little bit of heat in the area. Let's see, it looks like it's super glued or silicone there. Alright, let's see what's going on over here. This must be home button flex. That's still digitizer stuff. And we don't want to fuck up their home button. Yay! Alright, we got our pants down. Woo woo! Okay, home button is intact. Okay, so here is where we need to desolder this board. And we're going to keep these cables and all of these cables with it. We are going to peel the sticker here. We're going to peel the sticker here and desolder that. So let's get this assembly kind of free from the old screen. Okay, finally, time to do the soldering part. I'm going to kind of flip the home button back up. Let's take a look under the microscope. What are we looking at? Alright, so we've got our home button assembly flipped up and we have this whole thing flipped down so that we can see where and how it's soldered onto the board. So it looks like this sticker looks like what covers a flex. Aha, there it is. Alright, so here we go. So now this is just, you know, very, very similar to something like iPad Air charge port, iPad mini charge port. So let's see how you go about getting that off without ripping any pads. You definitely don't want to rip pads on this job. I'm not sure that you can get these replacement boards. Eventually you will, but I don't know about right now. So that'd be a real drag if you ruined somebody's $1,000 iPad because you pulled a pad and you couldn't do anything about it. That would stink. And I'm not sure what happens if you try to go to Apple to do the out of warranty swap if you've already opened it up. All right, so step one with getting this thing off safely is I'm gonna kind of flood these existing joints with plenty of solder and flux here. And that's really reflowing these joints to make them at a lower melting temperature. So I'm kind of swapping out or mixing in leaded solder with the existing lead free so that I can get this off with less heat. Alright, so I put quite a bit of that on there. Okay, now I'm just going to switch over to hot air. And I'm going to put some hot air on it, and hopefully it'll just lift off. I'm really just going to kind of let it release itself from the board. I don't want to pull anything. I want it to come up on its own. So I've got plenty of flux on here, and I'm just looking for it to turn shiny. And it's starting to turn shiny there. Once it's shiny, I know I can just kind of come along behind it with a tweezer. I'm not doing any pressure, I'm just letting it just kind of lift up on its own. That's one. Just let it release by itself. Huzzah. Okay, so this is the assembly that I need. But this board, eventually you can source, I don't know if you can source it now, maybe you can. Eventually I think suppliers will make the screens, as the screens eventually come down in price, they'll make them with these boards attached. So now this is officially dead and don't need it. All right, so let's get this crystal clear so that nobody messes it up. We can envision how it's going to ultimately go. We want it to ultimately go like this. So from there, we can kind of fold down and set it up how we should be soldering.
What was that?
I'm going to prop the screen. I'm propping it up so that I'll be able to kind of get a microscope view of what's going on here. Alright, so I gotta make those things attached to these things. Okay, so step one, I'm gonna clean up my pads so that they are totally ready to make new fresh joints. So I'm going to, when I do a flexible port like this, I like to replace the solder that's on there, the lead-free solder. I like to replace it, and that means like braiding it off. Now braiding is super dangerous, and whenever you're thinking of, should I braid this, you got to have a reason why. So why would you be braiding something? And if you have a compelling reason, then do it. But if not, if it's just because the internet told you to, then maybe there's not enough reason there. So if you're doing like a BGA chip and it's in tight clearance, it's really tiny, then there may not be any practical reason for you to braid the pads. In fact, it's better, in my opinion, for the pads to be kind of slightly rounded and raised and freshly tinned like puffy pillows. I don't like them to be kind of sandpapery flat. All right, let me just dry off that alcohol. Now we're going to go over this with my regular leaded solder. That's going to make it easy for me to braid. And as I go, I'm going to try if I can to not tin over my little gold orientation marks. Okay, let's get a piece. Okay, so all I'm doing here is just tinning these pads. Alright, you probably would be totally fine to just start soldering on your new flex as is, but I would like to, I just really want to get a good joint between this board and the new flex. I want the solder to suck up from under here, up through the new flex, and I just kind of want to put the odds in my favor by having it be leaded, not lead-free solder. So there's now sort of a mixture of solder on here, and I'm going to just very lightly, without making it that big of a deal, no obsession, fight the OCD, just kind of going with the grain, going down the row, and very lightly. Do not expose any of this solder mask. It's not worth it. This step is totally not that big of a deal. If it's, in your opinion, with your skill level, more of a risk, then just don't do it. The only reason I'm doing it is because I don't want to like end up having to overwork the flex or fight dead spots or anything like that. So if I have the easy to work with leaded solder, then it'll flow up really nicely. I don't have to worry about am I getting enough heat on these pads in order to get them to flow. So I braided them off. Now I'm gonna go over these. Is that Christmas presents or work?
This looks like all work.
Oh, work. Lame. Well, Jean, you better get busy. I would hate to lose our 2-day advantage on our stated handling time for touch disease. Okay, I'm going back over and now I'm re-tinning these pads. And now they will just have the lead in, which is what my goal is here.
You ran all weekend, keep an eye on that, right? Trusted cables. This specifically not work.
What is it?
Trusted cables? Did you buy cables?
I bought I want to do a video on TriStar stuff, so I bought some different cables. So all the cables I got, we need to
Norway.
slice open. Norway was supposed to send 4 or something like that, 6 backlights.
Board only?
I think so. I mean, I would expect that. So Jean's a 6 backlight expert.
Yet to get to those jobs yet. That's on my radar next.
Okay. All right, Chrissy, why don't you do the weird charge port job then?
Weird charge port job?
Yeah, the one where all the data recovery, it's right here. At any time.
The one that you explained to Justin or to Jean how to do and didn't explain to me?
Yeah, that one.
Oh.
Surely you overheard
Okay.
enough to get by. So that job is botch charge port. I put a few on there. It's missing a bunch of pads, so I think the best thing to do, I can get it to charge, but it will not detect, so I have to differentiate TriStar versus it's just really one of the, I had to do a bunch of jumpers on top of the missing pads. So for that one, I want to just take the port off, get a new port, go to the schematics, look up what lines are required for data recovery. So no speaker, no accessory connect, just I think there's only 7 that are required, and a couple of them are all the V-Bus 5-volt line that's several pads. So Jean has a printout of the schematic there that you can just use. So it would be make jumpers where you can see and test continuity between the nubs of the torn pads. So forget about making these thick wire jumpers that have to attach to tiny components. So nub of the pad to the charge port. So the charge port is going to be loose and flopping around. So 7 jumpers, and then that will definitively differentiate TriStar from it's too hard to get a port on there with all those missing pads. Okay? I think that you would be fantastic at that since you're the charge port pro. Okay, so now we have our little board here is ready to go. We want to kind of confirm our orientation that we want it to solder on like this. So we'll flip that down. And now it's time to get her on there. Now these, you kind of have one shot at these because the solder has to flow up from under the board underneath through the tiny little hole on each one of these little pads on the flex. And if you get a cold joint or you miss one, the flex can really quickly get overworked and start to peel up or break or crack. So you want to get this right the first time. So let's take a look at how we approach a job like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to align really carefully each side here. Usually I do put flux under here, but I think I'm going to change that up and stop doing that. Okay, so I'm going to kind of try to get my alignment right the first time. I'm looking at these little orientation mark holes. I think what I'm going to do is just get one corner soldered down exactly how I want it. Alright, that's good. So I'm going to hold that with my finger. Go to my BFFs, the mini hot tweezers. I remember watching Rachel Ray cooking 30-minute cooking show, and she would get all this stuff done in 30 minutes, and I would try to follow along in real time, and it was ridiculous. It would take me 2 hours. But this, I feel like everybody's like ahead of me because there's just too much chatting and Jessa takes too long to peel stickers off of her arm and things like that. Okay, now I've got kind of a pivot point.
On a side note,
On a side note, right, exactly.
Jessica spends too much time telling us about how she takes too much time.
Yeah, Jessa spends too much time talking about taking too much time and telling people how to solve problems that are not this problem, and everybody else is just sitting there like, yeah, we're already done. You got any tips on putting it back in? All right, so.
Thank God you're gonna edit this later.
I'm not gonna edit this, I have no time, I gotta pick up the girls. I mean, I should have just live streamed it if I was smart, but. Okay, so I like having the pivot point with just one soldered down because then I can kind of pivot around until I find that like perfect alignment that is like totally ideal. And then I will hit the other side, and that I think really helps you keep your alignment in there. All right, and over here, same thing. I'm kind of push that up a little bit. If this wasn't a $300 screen, I wouldn't spend so much time worrying about alignment, but it is. Okay, I think that's good.
What's that?
Alright, I want to make sure, I'm a little worried about that end one. Yeah, that's good. Alright, now I can kind of go back and just sort of go down the row. I'm going to definitely add flux on top of this whole line. There we go. Okay, now with this, I like to use the regular tweezers to keep pressure down. Kind of, I don't just, slide along here and say, zip, they're all done. Because I like to really kind of know for sure that every joint flowed. I like to see it with my eyes, that each joint flowed. Now my goal is not to just paint these. I'm trying to heat the whole thing up so that the underlying solder becomes one through the hole with the solder that I'm putting on the top. Alright, so now we can kind of come into frame. I'm just pressing each one down. I don't want to stick on them too long.
I don't think so. It's gotta
And I did tin these tweezers before I started, and that is going to have plenty of solder to get down this whole row. And with the other regular tweezers just sort of holding pressure on here, I'm going to wipe this off, that's a little bit too much solder. I can just sort of feel that each pad flows with the one under it. And I'm looking to see that the holes are filled with solder, like that one. That one is totally ideal. See that? I can see the joint. I can see that joint there. This has a little bit more solder than I like to have for these jobs, but it's okay. Now if you missed one, that's going to manifest as like a dead line. And if you bridge them together, then that's going to manifest as ghosting. So I'm just going to kind of look to see, do I see any that are bridged or look like the holes are still just kind of sitting up above the whatever this thing's called, I have no idea. I feel like I'm having a stroke every time I do one of these videos. Like I'm thinking about like, a couple steps ahead, and I really am not even listening to what I'm saying, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. And I forget to do things like put flux on here. So I sound like a woman in a nursing home. just kind of can't find words. Don't you think, Jean?
Something like that.
So Jean, are you nervous about being in a documentary?
Yes, I am.
Are you gonna call in sick that day?
I might.
You know we'll come to your house and check up. It'd be like, the whole point of it will be like, Jean's not really sick.
Pretty rid of the flu.
Jean is a liar.
I might be in the hospital.
Are you gonna go around and
I
like,
heard you were gonna be at the gym.
are you gonna like go around and like lick toilet seats just to make sure you don't have to be in this documentary?
Just start licking all the phones.
Yeah. Well, the Ebola phone is in the back. It's a good one to start.
Just accept one of the sub jobs that they call you for.
No.
That should do it.
No, that'll like encourage them. Can't have that.
Good way to get sick.
That's true. But I don't know. I saw the other episodes of the documentary, and I think they're a little bit dry,
That's what I thought.
like very dry.
You gonna do your best to spice it up?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. What would you say to like, Christy? What is your favorite phone?
Samsung?
Well, it was funny last night. Jean, you weren't in here last night. I don't know where my phone is, and it's just my actual ability to use a phone is like so limited. It's like, is the ringer on? I don't know. Probably. Might be broken though. I've never checked. I just don't know. Who doesn't know that?
Your phone started checking the messages on speakerphone from the drawer where you would put it while you were gone.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. It was like somebody called yesterday that was from a place called something like Wireless Pro, Guru, Wi-Fi
That's close
Guru
enough
or
for
something like that.
public.
Yeah. And said, you'll have to excuse me, I don't really know much about the internet. They couldn't fill out some quote request online or something. All right, these I think are on here okay. So let's look at this job with a little bit of a bigger picture. All right, it doesn't matter, if they're straight or even. You don't want to worry about that. You want to you don't want to touch them too many times. What you really want is to just see the holes that look filled. Let's see if we can get a good example. Those. You want to see those filled holes. Those are joints. A lot of the ones that we see that are in here for like, hey, my thing doesn't work is because those holes aren't filled. They're just sort of glossed over the top, and it's not actually making connection with the pad below. And I can look at my alignment. My alignment looks, pretty good. So I am happy with that. I think we should get a little Captain tape over this just to make sure that we don't short it to ground. Okay, so now that's taped up and we can see, let's give it a test. All right, so we'll kind of put this aside. All right, now here is the other, if you've hung in this long with this boring ass video, now you get a reward. How to not fuck it up, which is, I think one of the first ones we did, I know me and Mark totally set it on fire. All right, here's this. Your connectors are here. There's a bunch of little filters, image filters, touch filters, right in that connector area. Those guys are just like in the iPad Air, they're super sensitive. So if you think about, does this device looks pretty off to me, looks pretty dead, nothing's going on, I should be able to just plug that in there. The answer is no. Even if you've powered it off, if this battery has charge in it, then you have battery voltage that's going all through the device. And if you look it up, we don't have the schematic, but we can be pretty confident that there's no reason why that battery voltage that does feed the main line would not be all the way out here at the connector. Could be. And so if you plug it in a way that just for a split second, your ground pin touches a pin with a voltage in it, and you cause this sort of sudden slamming on the brakes short to ground, then that can and does really easily pop these filters. Then you have to, you wonder what they are and get another one and measure them, and it's a whole big thing. So all you have to do to avoid that, just like in every single other repair under the sun, is to just get serious about disconnecting the battery. And I'm like so unserious about 90% of word repair, but this is one that is a really big deal. You can just cause so many problems. Nobody does it. Everybody's like, oh, I've done so many. I've done over 500 iPhone 5, 5S, 5C. I've never had a problem. I never disconnect the battery. That's fantastic. I will let you know where to send your first 6S backplate job to when you continue with that mentality. So if you're in that camp, stop being a electronics noob and disconnect your battery, and you won't have to freak out when you blow a filter in your iPad Pro or any other device. All right, so with this, I had to unscrew a whole bunch of screws in this sort of cover here, and that's just the way it is. Sucks, but it's definitely worth doing that. I think the first one we did, we didn't know where the battery was. And we thought, oh, we'll just be like really, really careful. Yeah, we were researching those filters later that night. Actually, while this one's here, don't let me forget to measure. Christy, this is going to end up being your job. We need to measure, like, the filters with the smart tweezers or just a multimeter, just like resistance across them, so that with the battery disconnected, so that we know. And make a little map. Now, Christy, this battery is just like pops off or this like cover comes off like as in iPad mini. All right, let's show you guys what this looks like. Not that. Here we go. So this does peel up, just like in iPad mini. Just a peel up one. But look at the shape of it. It's kind of it's not as rectangular as you think it would be. All right, let's see what's going on in here. So just from, I've never seen a schematic, never seen that, but I bet that's the backlight coil. I bet that's the other one, and those are the backlight diodes, and these are the 3 backlight smoothing caps. Just like on every other mobile device. That looks like the same as, that's probably a backlight driver chip, and it looks like the one that's in the 6S. So that means there's going to be another backlight driver chip maybe under there. Power management chip, NAND, CPU, that's NAND. Here we go, battery connector. All right, so now we gotta get this guy off. I really have to go pick up the girls. I do not want to forget them. Alright, so I've lifted the battery connector up off the battery, so safe. Now let's try it. So we're just going to test this new screen, and then if it works, then we will hand it off to the pros. Okay, so I'm going to connect my on-screen flexes here. Which is more fun, soldering on a pro screen or doing all these flexes? What do you guys think?
Soldering on a wet screen?
The pro screen, is it more nerve-wracking or is it just like, no way, it's way more fun to solder? Or is it like more satisfying to like not tear any of the flexes and get everything where it's supposed to go?
I was gonna say neither.
Neither? What?
iPads.
Yeah, we were gonna say like, we're gonna change the business name to anything but iPad rehab.
I think we should keep the name. Just our tagline should be, we fix everything but
Fix
iPad.
everything. iPad rehab, we fix everything, well except for iPads, those suck, come on. I like it, I have to say. I'm gonna just tape this little button there so it doesn't give me a hard time. Yeah, like it's like we under no circumstance will reassemble your iPad. That's not what we do. That is just not happening. Oh yeah, so the little backlight. Wouldn't it suck if I like dropped this screen?
That would really suck.
Now this actually does a full turn, just like in the old one, which is weird. You know, you kind of never want to crease a flex. Well, except for this one, it's cool. Like as long as you do it right like that. Very weird. Full on crease right there. We'll do kind of a gentle crease while we're testing. I think with this repair, if you have done some air charge ports, mini charge ports, then there's really nothing to be afraid of here with this. As long as you take your time and you're careful, then this really is a very straightforward repair. Okay, so now we're gonna get this sucker connected. This is a big ass iPad. Seriously, this is an iPad Maxi Pad. This is a super overnight maximum absorbency. Super
Yeah,
plus.
I think you just lost 90%.
We were just talking about like how commercials and things have changed, and you know like what like how like all the toilet paper commercials are just like so over the top. They're no longer like squeeze the Charmin. They're like, you should enjoy taking a shit. Like it's really fun. Like just go with it. And now like all the Maxi Pad commercials, like when are they gonna stop using the look how absorbent this Maxi Pad is. Watch us pour this innocent blue liquid into it. You need to change that shit to red. See what happens. That's when you know you've arrived. Okay, so I screwed the battery back down, and now you guys all get to laugh at me when this fucker doesn't turn on. Why did they get a black screen? It doesn't turn on. Wait, how about we charge it up? That would be another strategy. Like, truly don't work on these until the battery is absolutely dead, and then you don't have to worry about unplugging that thing. Okay, and now we can wait. And I unscrewed all that, killed myself on the battery for a low battery icon. God damn it. Okay, alrighty. I need to go like super soon. So hopefully this is gonna boot up and will work. After that, I'm gonna turf it over to you, Christy, to batten down the hatches here.
Of course you are.
Oh, of course you are. Yes, right after you get done with that other church work. And I bet kids would break this all the time. Alright, it is pulling normal charging current, and we are kind of on hold until that gets done. Which sucks, because that means I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here for like however long it takes this thing to charge up, so now there's going to be a giant cut in the video. And it works. It's like the next day, you're totally wearing different clothes. Well, I had to go pick up the girls. You know, they were excited to be pickup kids. So February 7th-ish is going to be the come lobby your assemblyman day in Albany who wants to go. Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. We're going to fight for our right to fix this shit.
When is February class week?
It's also February 7th, so that's a bit of a snag.
Are we taking all of the students?
Yes! That's it, field trip. Course week field trip. We're gonna,
What the hell time is it?
it is time to go pick up the girls, like
2:30.
seriously.
Where is
This is gonna suck. I'm gonna have to like cut this video in order to, God
In a
damn it.
couple minutes still.
God damn it.
You should just let it keep running and go like pack all your stuff up and.
And then don't edit the video. Just like have it be like, now if you really want to see if it works, you gotta just sit here and
Just sit here.
just sit here. You never know. And you know when you never know when it's gonna just pop back on. Alright. I went to pick up the girls and here we are. Jean says this thing came on, so it's still charging. So let's see if it works. Now we have to wait for this. 5 minutes to load. Okay. TikTok. Alright, passcode. Alright, here goes nothing. Yay. Let's do a note. I do love with the new iOS the ability to like test the screen with notepad kind of stuff. Alright, let's see if we have any dead spots. So it's important to test for all your entire screen to see if you have any dead columns or dead rows. Whee! And I love the little sketch app because that's pretty cool. You can even go down here. Alright, so it looks like that worked. No dead spots. So that's how you do iPad Pro, the big 12.9 screen replacement. If you get into trouble, watch the video and practice a few times on a couple of, just other flat flexible charge ports. You could even like build a mini screen, like a cheap iPad mini screen. You could practice desoldering the little controller chip on that guy and putting it back on. And then when you're good with that, then move up to the expensive iPad Pro digitizer, and it's pretty doable as long as you have that sort of core technical proficiency. You should be fine.